Hi everyone. So, I'm now going to cover extroverted feeling, or what we often tend to call extroverted ethics in socionics. So, yeah, I covered thinking. Now we're covering feeling, extroverted feeling. So, first I'll say what it's not. Extroverted feeling is not about harmony. I already talked about introverted sensation as being a lot more to do with harmony. And harmony can be harmony with people, it can be harmony with things. It's not necessarily nice, cuddly, fluffy. Nice, cuddly, fluffy is more of a combination of both introverted sensing and extroverted feeling together. So SFJs, really. But the problem with is sort of, the SFJs and Myers-Briggs, right? That understanding is then taken to understand extroverted feeling when it's with introverted intuition, the NFJs in Myers Briggs. And so they're overly understood in SFJ terms. So what ends up happening is that essentially ENFJs are misunderstood, very much misunderstood. They are not necessarily nice, cuddly, fluffy like ESFJs. Even ESFJs, just because of nice, cuddly, fluffy, they're necessarily nice people. They beat some terrible people for ESFJs, like of almost every type. But for instance, people find it very strange when I say that Adolf Hitler, for instance, was an ENFJ, not an ENTJ. Because the point is, he wasn't a thinker. He was not cuddly. He was not fluffy. He was not very nice. He was not about harmony. But he was using extroverted feeling, not extroverted thinking. Remember I described extroverted thinking, this sort of very sort of empirical, very much how things work, improve how things function sort of person. That's not it. That's not Hitler. He was an artist. He was a visionary. He was a dramatic soul who did some awful, awful things. But that is, yeah, none of that's to do with extroverted thinking. So, yeah, extroverted feeling is not necessarily about harmonizing your relationships with others. It's not even about relationships. No. It is something which is feeling. And first of all, I'll talk about what feeling is before I launch into what extroverted feeling is. So, feeling is a kind of judgment. Again, it is oughts based, it is prescriptive. It is now internal rather than external. So, it is about how what is within. It is a subjective judgment. It is a sentimental kind of judgment, right? And just because you have certain sentiments, it doesn't mean someone else will also have those sentiments that you have. Now, maybe you meet someone who is, and that person who feels the same way on things as you do, you may have a very special bond and connection. But there's no guarantee you can make someone feel differently. There's no guarantee that you can change someone's subjective judgments. Sometimes you can, but it's not. It's not. There's no science to it. It is an interpretive, intuitive art to be able to move someone's emotions. So, yeah, it is internal. And the point is, if you were to remove human beings from the planet, right, you would still have thinking. You'd still have processes. You'd still have structures. You'd still have all the things that work, unless you're Berkeley, in which case everything disappears, because, well, unless, of course, God's looking at everything, as Berkeley would have said. But no. Whereas if you remove people, if you remove life from the world, all feeling would go. There would be no feeling. There'd be no emotion anymore, because you actually need someone to feel. You don't need someone for thinking to be as it is, because that's just the facts. So, no. So, yes, feeling is internal. Feeling is also involved now, not detached. And it's in the name again, feeling ethics as we call it. It is something you feel. It is sentimental, so you are feeling it. You feel it in your heart, what should I say, the amygdala, right? Rather than feel in your touch receptors in your skin as sensing would be. But it's still feeling. It is the emotional kind of feeling. So yes, that's what feeling or ethics is. And again, like with thinking, feeling can either be information that is extroverted and dynamic, or introverted and static. In this case, extroverted feeling is extroverted, and it's dynamic. So again, it's this idea of a sort of continuously changing and developing thing, like with extroverted thinking, continuously developing and changing, and accumulating, increasing in its intensity, in its muchness. But there's no longer a distinctness between things, like with statics, like with extroverted sensation or extroverted intuition. It is a holistic, general, ever-changing thing. And so, but rather than it being holistic, general, ever-changing, facts, methodologies, processes, continuously updating and improving them, now it's about moods. It's about emotions. It is about the emotive energy you convey, your style, your vibe, your charisma, your way of coming across, how you land words for other people to like what you're saying, respond well to what you're saying, or be provoked to respond with anger, because that's also in terms of extroverted feeling. And this is why extroverted feeling cannot be harmony. It can be used to create harmony, that's part of it, but it could also be used to create disharmony, because extroverted feeling is about all the emotions, all the moods, and how to shape and change that in oneself, in also the environment around you. So extroverted feeling is the mood management information element. It is about, right, how people are likely to react to you, how you're going to come across to people, by knowing, right, what causes people to respond. How do I make this statement in a way that's going to cause people to react in the way I want them to react? And yes, I talked about Adolf Hitler, terrible human being, but very much extroverted feeling, because he was able to galvanize the Germans around his vision. He had immense charisma. You see him in his speeches, this sort of very gesticulating, passionate person who was able to get people to also be on board with that passion. That's very strong extroverted feeling at play. And you can see in other figures like Bill Clinton, very charismatic, or Ronald Reagan, Tony Blair, but also in figures like Martin Luther King, very able to find the right way to appeal to and stir the emotions. JFK, another one. But also artists, because it doesn't have to be in the world of politics. It can also be in a creative space. People who come up with music and art forms, again, move, which convey a certain image or a way of being, which can stir people up or cheer people up. Whether that is music which makes you feel good, like a sort of Paul McCartney, or it can be music which inspires and makes you think more deeply on things, like a David Bowie. All would fall under extroverted feeling. This sort of ability to shape and change mood using all sorts of media, and how you manage yourself to come across to others in the way you want to come across to others. That can upset, but it can also console. Think about someone like Kanye West, very much an extroverted feeling figure, but not necessarily one that people are particularly happy with at the moment. But whatever he does on purpose. He knows exactly how to provoke, to get people to be talking about him, to be responding to him in terms of what he's saying. Very, very big skill he has there. So yes, that is what extroverted feeling is about, this sort of extroverted, dynamic thing. It's not necessarily harmonized, it's not necessarily nice. It can be very nice. They can be the nicest people. But also, if their mood changes, they can be some of the most horrible people. Because that's the thing. Mood, it's dynamic. It changes. Mood changes. So how you treat others, it can be based on your mood. Are you happy? Are you in a good mood? Or are you in a bad mood? Is this amazing? Or is this terrible? And this is the judgment aspect of it. It is conveying a sense of this is something to feel joy about, or this is something to despair in. This is something to be furious about and be motivated to act upon it. All very much in terms of extroverted feeling. That ought is being carried throughout. But that then means that people are extroverted feeling oriented, that they approach things in terms of their passions and their moods. That is not set, it is not stable, it's not fixed. So an extroverted feeling person may often say things they don't mean because they feel it in that moment. And this is where extroverted feeling is the opposite of extroverted thinking. Again, they are opposition. They cannot exist in the same space. Because on the one hand, you've got extroverted thinking, which is very matter of fact, right? This is how it is, that is how it is, these are the facts, this is the information, can be quite dry, but very informative. And extroverted feeling is the opposite of that. It's not about informing you. It's about conveying authentically how you are feeling to other people, to transmit your emotions across so people know how you're feeling. And that means exaggeration. I feel terrible. This is awful. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. The people who get dramatic, the people who exaggerate, they go against extroverted thinking, which is anti-exaggeration, very much about matter of fact. But in doing so, in exaggerating and making things more exciting, more engaging, you're listening with rapt attention. This is an entertaining figure. This is sung with style and charisma. By doing that, you're sacrificing extroverted thinking. You're losing the matter-of-factness. You're losing the factual accuracy in what's being delivered. So that's why extroverted feeling and extroverted thinking are exact opposites. They can't exist in the same space. So yeah, that is extroverted feeling. I should also say extroverted feeling complements introverted thinking. Both of them are creating a sense of clarity, a clarity that rallies people together around the judgments. For introverted thinking, it's about setting out those structures, those frameworks, easy, simple, sometimes not necessarily, can be quite complex, but the idea is refined down. It's not endless facts. There's a structure. And structures are communicated well over distances. You can get millions of people to believe in the same ideology. It's quite difficult to get millions of people to all acknowledge the same expanse of factual information. That's why you get experts in different fields for extroverted thinking. Whereas you don't, for introverted thinking, you've got the structure, it's communicated across, everyone's got the same structure. Extroverted feeling supports that, because introverted thinking, it's not very engaging on its own. But when someone's using introverted thinking, like conveying it with passion and excitement, that is where introverted thinking is able to carry across. And extroverted feeling is also very much about clarity, because it is conveying how I feel. It's not, I feel a bit of this and I feel a bit of that. It's all very complicated. No, it's, I feel amazing. I feel terrible. It's that sort of digitization of information towards absolutes. Both extroverted feeling and introverted thinking deal with things in that digital, absolute way. And extroverted thinking, no, it's more analog. It's all the sort of, it depends on the situation, complexity. So yeah, that is extroverted feeling. I'm now going to cover introverted feeling in the next video.